Well, folks, I'm here with Craig Castry. We're in the warehouse here. We've just finished another fruit tree workshop with a group of our lovely patrons of...
Well, hang on. We didn't just do a fruit tree workshop. We did...
I know.
Let's talk about a bit of soil.
Okay, we did a lot of things there, folks.
We've been on this same page for a long time.
Yeah, we have. And people have been saying you guys are talking the same tune or singing it. So we're going to start bringing this to you in more abruptly, if I can use that as an expression, because that's what you're going to do today.
Well, sort of.
So talking about soils and the life of soils and the way we've been mistreating our soils, and quite frankly, if I can use the expression, brainwashed.
Oh, yeah, well, in many respects. Look, I guess the learnings and teachings of people before us, education facilities, like I went through horticultural college way back 40-odd years ago.
Have you torn up the certificate yet?
No, well, the certificate means a lot to me, but
I know.
What I was taught was right for the time.
Yeah.
Much was still right, but there was a lot that was wrong.
You're very humble about that. You've been polite. But it's true, because they didn't know it.
Absolutely.
And even the lecturers who were just taught, they just shared that information.
Well, I'm working in now TAFE colleges to help the teachers out because...
They got it wrong, or they don't want to learn.
They're not being taught what they need to teach their students. So both I'm teaching the teachers and the students.
We've both been on both sides of that coin, meaning we haven't known and now we do know, and it's just frightening to see how much people don't know. And when you hear some other, let's call horticulturalists and presenters who've just
beaten the same drum that they've always beaten.
It's rolling off their tongue, and they just haven't bothered to take that extra step to learn a bit more and open their eyes and stop being focused on brand awareness and just sales.
Look, there are some that are starting to do that, but look, at the end of the day, us feeding plants has got us into a lot of trouble. Feeding even organic fertilisers to plants gets us into trouble because...
Let's explain it to them, because people are going to be confused now.
So, manures and what have you.
And superfoods and things like that.
Well, even that, but I mean, at the end of the day, a cow doesn't back up to a tomato.
That's right.
And unload a dump at the base of the tomato. That's not how it happens. No. And the plant can't take that up anyway. Yeah. Plants don't just sit there drinking up nutrient. They have to have it solubilised by a microbe, be it a fungi or a bacteria, to make it available in a plant-available format and feed it back to the plants. Yeah. So our role is really to feed the organic matter to soil. And by that, then we feed the microbes then solubilise it, turn it into available solubilised fertiliser or nutrient, and feed that to the plants the way they're meant to. And the plants actually ask the microbes through biochemical signalling as to what they want in the amounts they need. So
it's true. It's true. It is. I mean, we've always thought, well, customers would come in when I had the garden centre years ago, and they go, yellow leaves, the plant's thirsty, it needs nitrogen, it needs ammonium.
Well, you're not the Lone Ranger. That's what I did.
Yeah. So, here's some sulphate of ammonia. Sprinkle that around the base, or Epsom salts. Water that into the soil around the base of the tree.
Get some trace minerals or trace elements.
Exactly.
I agree, Vasily. I mean, I was the same. That was the drum I was taught to beat.
And look, and you would get results. But there's a key...
But it goes back.
Yeah. There's a key point there.
Exactly
We've got to explain that, because people say, but wait, I see the results. This is the problem that I think... this is my humble opinion on how people evaluate situations, whether it's a product, location, or a topic. We work with our eyes first. We see something and we react immediately to that.
I can break that down very simply.
What's that?
Weeds, pests, disease, deficiencies are all symptoms of another problem. And you need to go to the source of the problem. If you use trace minerals, that only masks the symptom.
Exactly.
It's a bit like when you go to the doctors. They say, here, go next door and buy these and take those one a day.
Anti-inflammatories.
They haven't gone to the problem.
No, that's right.
Okay?
The core of the problem.
The problem is that you're not eating the right stuff.
Exactly. And your microbiome in the gut there is not working properly.
So when you treat the deficiency in the plant, when that solubilised...
You're masking the problem.
That's it. You haven't gone to the function or the problem.
So
the problem, guess what it is?
Soil. And the life in the soil. And
the soil is not functioning properly.
That's right.
Okay? Yeah. And because it's not functioning properly, it is unable to give the plant what it needs, when it needs it, to stop showing those deficiencies.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the problem.
So when you go to your local garden centre and they say to you, put some of this on your plant or spray it directly onto it. And sorry, guys, if you're a garden centre owner, we've all been that. I've been that. And, you know, I'm not here just to beat my drum. It's about beating the drum of understanding the life of soil and how we've been mistreating it. So when you do go to a garden centre and you're a home gardener and you need something to treat a plant, the answer should always be the same thing: fix the soil, fix your soil.
If you've got aphids, that's not the problem for the plant. That's a problem. It's not the problem. The problem is that it's not delivering the nutrient density to the plant to repel the attack from the aphid. So look, you can spray it, but they're going to come back when the spray's over.
Exactly. And look, you may have the best soil, and sometimes you'll have the rogue insect that will make its way to a plant and make some sort of effort, but it'll be so minimal in the damage, it's almost negligible to even consider doing anything other than continue fixing the soil or adding to the soil.
So 3 years of a long, arduous study into soil and microbiology, and actually having to retrain my brain differently.
Because you have a look at this, Vasily. Sorry, guys.
But it basically means that I've had to tear up what I know and learn something completely new.
You're giving me a bloody headache doing it, sir.
What can I say?
I mean, I grew up digging the ground out. You know, my story to people is I grew up with my father who picked me up after school and take me back to the house in Coburg, have me turn the soil, and make me a nice salad.
Manures.
Shitloads of sheep manure. You know, they'd buy 30, 40 bags of sheep manure for 10 square metres.
Well, you're not the Lone Ranger.
I know.
You think you're the only bloke. I mean, hey, I did the same thing. My father was the same. We used to turn over a whole cubic metre of compost from one place to another and sift it in between. My arms used to nearly fall off. And then we would take it out in the garden and turn it over.
That's nuts.
I mean, it's just craziness.
I mean, where do we see that in nature that happens?
Nothing does that, and that's the thing. So, to cut a long story short,
where are we?
About 6 months ago, I got contacted by a young bloke who introduced himself and said that he was doing, Ryan is his name.
Right.
And he was doing a soil microbiology course with Dr. Elaine Ingham from the Soil Food Web, world-renowned soil microbiologist. And he asked whether, when he finished, could he come and do a soil test at my place? And I said, absolutely, please do. So, what we did, yes, I know, don't worry about that. So, anyway, so he rings me last week and says, I've been testing soil all over the place and I cannot find any decent soil.
That's crap.
So, do you mind, do you mind if, can I take you up on the offer? I said, absolutely, come and do that. So, he took samples, 6 samples. From garden beds throughout the garden, 2 in the front, 1 from the compost, and 2 from these beds here. Now, these beds I used because I took my beds up 1 level, and I got you to supply me with a great heap of planting mix. Now, I've sort of had a little bit of a part to play in the planting mix because I introduced Vasily to the fellow that organises the compost for him, because I believe in so much behind the guy who does that. He knows his stuff.
That's Brendan.
He's unbelievable.
And they're doing a great job.
So, and of course, then I said to Vasily, because you've got black grit, I would be adding some of that. So let's do some, and sure enough, here we are. We've now got the planting mix. So
it's chockers, mate. It's
coupled with I keep it mulched and I keep it fed, as I've explained in my latest book, how to build soil feed. I don't use any fertilisers. I use your products, but I use them in the compost. I use the superfood.
That's a good way.
Small amounts. I use black grit, often in the compost. And I make it as diverse as I possibly can. And I use biostimulants. So I use Eco Butch and Liquid Gold, and I use my own worm casting. I have a diverse array that I mix. So we cycle through these so that you don't get stuck just using one thing.
Exactly.
It's about getting diversity back in the garden. So he comes back with the results.
I only saw these today, and he's going, you're going to love this, you're going to love this. So what are you talking about? I'm going to blow your brains away. Okay.
So ultimately what happened was that the ratings just out of the back box. The compost was A+. Bed 1 is A.
Bed 1 is A. Bed 2 is B+. B+.
All the rest are A's. But it's the comments really, and I guess some of the other details.
So read these to us.
Huge numbers of protozoa across the board, likewise for fungi, especially the compost, which is heavenly. the microscope confirms what the plants and bricks readings already show. I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
High bricks readings means you don't get any pest and disease, and I don't have that. That's a thing in the past in my garden. The only thing that I'm not sure about is the bacterial levels are remaining so high despite the levels of protozoa. My guess would be the earthworms having something to do with that, all positive anyway. So, he goes on to say in one of these, here's one, huge numbers well above anything I've experienced or heard of. Not sure how to interpret these. 99.7 micrograms is bloody unreal though. He's talking about fungal biomass, which is the fungal hyphae within the soil that rests about 100 mils to 150 mils down in the top level of the topsoil. Is huge. Now, they have targets, and I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to pick these up, but
we'll take a shot in a minute.
Yeah,
but
okay. So they have targets. So the target's 200.
200
and the bacterial biomass is 50,400.
So the target's 200 micrograms, and you got 50,400 micrograms.
Yep.
Isn't it overkill? It's like overpopulating the city.
Can't do that.
What do you mean you can't do it? We're going to cull the culture here, mate. It's a bit too much.
So the target for the fungal biomass was 200. Mine's 997. So if you start to get down into total beneficial protozoa numbers, the target's 10,000. Mine read 850,000.
850,000. You're clocking it.
Amoebas 510,000. Flagellates 340,000, and so on. So, and it goes on to say, I talk about building humus in soil, and ultimately, here we go, in bed 2, which is again one of yours, great aggregate structures, huge amounts of humus, clearly lots of nutrient cycling, unbelievable. So again, the numbers are consistent all the way through.
That's fantastic,
incredible numbers. So, and of course, when I'm scratching back the soil, I'm now seeing just so much worms.
Yeah. You see
it's
life.
Incredible.
You remember last year when we were taking handfuls out of the raised bed?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've discovered just only yesterday or the day before, because I'm pretty busy these days, I don't get a lot of time to spend in the garden. So I talk about putting in the conga line of carrots.
Okay.
Right, so I don't know whether I've shared this with you. That's it. So snaking them in and out around. So filling up the spaces rather than putting them all in a row. So I get a cup of seed raising mix, half a packet of radish seeds, and half a packet of long rounded carrot seeds. And I mix them all really well together. Scratch back the mulch, make a little...
You just sprinkle it in there,
and then I sprinkle it in and cover it back up again.
All right, nice. Rather than putting toilet paper rolls and things like that.
So I've had 1.2 millimetres of rain in only 17 days. 1.2 mil.
It's just...
So I keep looking and thinking, I keep watching that weather station. I've got my own weather station there, so it's not the bomb that I'm looking at. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to water surely. So I go out and I scratch it back.
It's wet.
Oh yeah, it's holding so much moisture. It's not funny. So because of the huge amounts of humus.
That's what I was going to say. So humus should be around 2.5 to 5%. Is that what we're saying?
No, it should be 5% in good, healthy soil.
Let's go 5%.
Most soils have only got about 1.5. Yeah.
So every percent of humus that you've got in your soil, we're talking about 1 square metre up to 200 deep.
Yep.
So if you've got 1% of humus in that 200 square metres, it's about 17 litres or 15 litres?
17 litres of water it will hold.
It'll hold. So imagine 1 square metre, which is basically 3/4 of a bucket, let's call it. So 2 watering cans. And if you've got 5 square metres, multiply that by 7.
85 litres
every
square metre.
That's almost 9 watering cans that soil is holding.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable. Like people can't imagine that, because I've seen people, and I've done it too in the past on certain beds. I'm holding the hose.
And facilities, these are raised beds.
Yeah. They should dry out even quicker.
Absolutely, and that's what I've been looking at. I'm thinking at some point I'm going to have to water. And I scratch back and think, I don't have to water.
Isn't it
incredible?
Great? I know. And that's because you've got the life activated, and that's by layering and just feeding monthly.
So, exactly, that's the thing. What I do is I sieve the compost just in one of those cheap plastic sieves. What goes through it easily, bear in mind I'm on a 500 square metre block, not a big garden. I take the worm castings out and I combine the two, because the worm castings can be a bit sludgy. And I mix those two to help dry that out. 2 10-litre buckets, that's it. One for the front yard.
And one for the back.
And one for the back. And
In
I
a 500
broadcast
square.
it over the top and I water it in and I use a biostimulant.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I do.
I just
I do the whole garden. I don't treat or feed any plant.
Yeah.
I just feed the soil. That's it.
I just use our planting mix to do that because it's basically the whole caboodle in it.
Yeah.
It's got the superfood, the compost, the cocoa, the worm castings, the blackweed.
But just bear in mind, like a forest floor, it needs to be continually fed
layered
from above.
Layered, exactly. You've got to
and that's what happens,
layer.
So that's what I'm doing in this compost.
Yeah,
I'm
nice.
just continually adding through that mulch layer.
Yep.
I don't turn the soil over. If there's any spent plants there, I cut them off below the soil, compost the top. I leave the biomass of roots
below
in the ground. That leaves the fungal network at
Connected.
play. Yep.
And everyone's happy.
And straight away put a new plant, seed or a seedling.
Practicing these methods of preaching that you've been doing for the last few years and the results coming through with all the wonderful products that you've been using, thank you. Your results speak for themselves.
Well, they're outstanding.
They're outstanding. I mean, there's life everywhere. Yeah. My raised beds are like that. My ground bed has gone to heaven. So I'm about to level that off, and that's part of the workshops. Are you available on the 14th, 20th and 27th?
I did see that there's one I'm not, but...
Yeah? Oh, well.
I'm sure we'll work something out. Yeah,
okay. So we've got the workshops coming up for the Veggie Garden folks to learn more about this and understand how you can put the life back into your soil without having to break your back digging it over.
Save your money too.
Yeah, exactly. The
very thing that we apply fertiliser and that lowers the nutrient density of the plants. Yeah. Insects move in, then you're back down buying sprays.
Exactly. So it's layering and top dressing. So, and if you're thinking about superfood and things like that, mix it into your bag of compost and then throw it over the top. That's as simple as that. Or just get a bag of planting mix to do it. If you've got compost piles, that's where you add it as well. So there's many ways to approach it, and the best way is without digging it. And that's keeping the life network intact. And I'm impressed.
So
now it's my turn. I want him to give me a call. I'll go to give this guy, Ryan is his name?
Yep. I'll give you his details. Don't you worry.
We'll test out our soils, folks.
Yep.
Check all this out at vasilisgarden.com, also craigcashry.com.au.
Yep.
For any further information, great books. He's got a plethora of books there that'll blow your brains out. Everything you need to learn about gardening. I'm still working my way through them all. I've read them a couple of times, and it's like everything. You need to go over it multiple times for it to sink in. And really, as you have to unpack your methods of thinking, that's what we've had to do as well, to learn and re-educate our way we garden, because easy is the way and no dig is a real good way. But it's all about regenerative gardening. Not just no dig, it's about understanding how to regenerate the life in the soil. Congratulations, mate. Great work.
All the best.
And I'll see you at the next workshop. From me, Vasily. Maresi.